She borrowed my alibi, then asked me to keep it. Chapter 1, 3:17 a.m. The call woke me like a light thrown against a wall. "Ava?" Lila's voice had that careful panic people practice in bathrooms. "If anyone asks, Mark or the police or whoever, say I was with you tonight." Why would the police ask? I sat up, the sheet cooling where my legs left it. The digital clock on the dresser blowed 3:17 like a verdict. Because of a thing that looks worse than it is? A soft exhale. "Please, I'll explain in the morning." "You're okay?" "I will be," which is not the same. The line clicked dead. I stared at the ceiling where shadows made unhelpful diagrams. Jonah stirred beside me. "Everything all right?" "My sister's sense of timing is a disease," I said. "Go to sleep." I didn't. I lay there and counted questions until the cattle in my brain started to hiss. At 4:02, our street's cat trotted under the streetlight with the arrogance of creatures who don't apologize. I envied him. I envied anyone with a life that didn't require the word alibi before dawn. Chapter 2. The Receipt. Morning was a room with corners. I needed a straight line. The cafe near the river prints names in blue ink that smears if you touch it too soon. I go there so often they don't ask. 2 Americanos, I told the barista. 1 with an apology. She smiled in the neutral way people learned behind counters. We don't sell those. On the little pickup shelf, a receipt had my first name and Lila's handwriting. Same flourish on the A, same impatience in the V, like she wanted to be finished with herself. I don't share a name with my sister. We share a brace of gestures and a mother who loved silver. I turned the slip over. Timestamp, 2:41 a.m. Cash. The camera above the espresso machine blinked a small red dot like a heartbeat. At the table by the window, I called Lila. Voicemail. Her voice, sunny, recorded in a life that was not currently happening, said she'd call me back in 5 minutes or 5 decades. I drank coffee that had cooled into a metaphor and watched the river bruise itself against pylons. When the world refuses to clarify, it becomes scenery. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. A voicemail. I didn't listen. I wanted to pretend it was a well-meaning algorithm. I checked my wrist for my mother's silver bracelet, the way I do when I'm anxious. Bare skin. I patted pockets I knew were empty, the way grief checks for a wallet it left in another decade. At home, Jonas stood in the doorway with his bike helmet and an expression borrowed from news anchors. Detective Rivas came by. "A woman from Lila's building is missing. They're talking to everyone." "And to me," I said. "And to you," he said gently, and I hated him for the gentleness because it meant I needed it. Chapter 3. Detective. Detective Rivas had a face that looked like the city had practiced it. She sat at our table and didn't drink the water I offered because some people don't want to owe you even that. Your sister's neighbor, Sophia Trent, didn't come home last night. Her phone pinged near the river at 2:58 a.m. We're establishing a timeline. I found myself glancing at the clock as if it could rewind on command. I haven't spoken to Leela today, but you spoke to her in the night. Yes. Honesty makes you taller or shorter depending on its weight. I felt both. She asked me to say she was with me. She didn't write that down. She looked at me like a person deciding whether I was the room or the window. Why would she ask that? To cover something that looks worse than it is, I said. Her words. Rivas nodded once. Where were you between 2 and 3? In bed, with my husband. She made a small mark in the notebook she had no trouble drinking from. We'll need him to confirm. Jonah did softly, like he was reading our vows again in a smaller font. Rivas closed the notebook and stood. If your sister contacts you, please tell her to call me. Tell her the river doesn't care about alibis. When she was gone, I exhaled a person I didn't want to be, the one who starts opening drawers. On my dresser, under the scarf I wore when I wanted to be someone else,
lay my silver bracelet, not where I had left it. The clasp showed a smudge of blue, like someone had hurried while the ink was wet. I washed my hands of nothing. Chapter 4. The Garage. I work in a small office above a florist. The florist has a camera because peonies are more valuable than belief. On my lunch break, I asked the owner, Maisie, to check last night. "You never come in before 10, she said, fast-forwarding with the grace of a person who edits life for a living. On screen at 1:32 a.m., my car turned into the alley and stopped. The camera's motion sensor pinged and overlaid a polite white rectangle on my license plate. A woman got out in a hoodie and a cap. She moved like me if you'd learned my body by watching video. The gestures, but not the weight. She wore my bracelet. "Zoom," I said. Maisie did, and the pixels protested, but I saw what I needed to see. The hoodie lifted, a glimpse of hair. Not mine. Lighter. Leela's. She let herself into the side door with a key she shouldn't have. I remembered then. I'd given her my spare last year when she'd locked herself out and cried like a person who was angry at gravity. She was in my office for 12 minutes. When she came out, she carried nothing. She stood in the alley and peeled gum from a wrapper, peppermint, the brand she used when she wanted her mouth to be a weapon, and stuck the wrapper in her pocket the way neat criminals do. The car beeped when she got back in. The sound was small and ridiculous, a toy consenting to be loud. "Want me to call anyone?" Maisie asked kindly. "I think I'm about to, just not the police." I called Leela. She picked up on the fourth ring. "Before you say anything," she began, her voice walking down a set of stairs. "Thank you." "For what?" "For being you. And for owning a car with a camera." "You wore my bracelet." "I should have asked." "You should have not needed to." Silence. Then, "Come to the bridge." "The one over the river?" "Where else do we go when we need to say something that doesn't sound right in kitchens?"
Chapter 5. The Bridge. We grew up near water that moves slowly enough to make mistakes without drowning. The new river is faster. It has opinions. Leela leaned on the railing with the posture you keep when the world is taller than you thought. Her cap was gone, hair like late barley. The silver bracelet winked like a betrayal that wanted to be jewelry. "Tell me the truth," I said. "All of it." She nodded once, as if cashing a check, and began. "Sophia is my neighbor. We share cigarettes we don't smoke and stories we don't finish. Her ex, Mason, waits in cars. He's the kind who thinks flowers are apologies. Last night he was drunk and loud in the hallway. Sophia texted me at 1. He's here. I went to her place. We called the non-emergency line because we're women and we've learned to call softly." Leela pressed her thumbs against the railing until the knuckles whitened. "He left. We were shaking and stupid and felt brave, so we walked to the water to prove we weren't afraid of outside. I left her at the cab rank at 2:37. She got in the cab. I watched the cab leave. I went to your office because I needed a place that didn't smell like him. Riva says Sophia's phone pinged near the river at 2:58, after she left you. I know. That's why I called you at 3:17, because I remembered I exist in video. I was scared the night would misremember me, and I wanted a witness even if she was borrowed. And the car? Mason knows my car. He's keyed it twice. I took yours." I closed my eyes. "And my name on the receipt?" "I didn't want to sign mine anywhere near that time," she said, and the logic made a horrible kind of sense. "Eva, I wasn't with him. I wasn't with anyone. I just didn't want to be alone, and your office smells like lilies and calm." "Why the bracelet?" She looked at the little circle like it owed her money. "Because I wanted to be you for 20 minutes. The kind of person the city gives the benefit of the doubt. That person doesn't exist. We just keep the receipts neat." A gull cut the air into ribbons. Somewhere a bus exhaled. The river performed indifference. "I'll talk to the detective. I just needed an alibi that had my name," I finished. I needed my sister, she said. I almost forgave her, then I remembered Jonah. Did you text my husband? She blinked. What? The voicemail from an unknown number this morning. Did you call Jonah? No, she said, bewildered. Why would I? My phone buzzed. Unknown number again. This time I listened. Eva, a man said. Not Jonah. Rough velvet voice. Leela said you'd be reasonable. Meet me where Granary hits the river. Tonight. We'll trade. I played it for Leela. Her face completed a puzzle she hadn't wanted to own. Mason, she said. He thinks I have something of his. What? She swallowed. Sophia. Chapter 6. The Ledger. We went to Leela's place in daylight, when neighbors become witnesses without meaning to. Inside, everything smelled like last night's confidence, that powdery scent of relief that vanishes by noon. On the counter, a small black notebook, edges battered by cheap pockets. Inside, a ledger. Names. Amounts. Numbers in red pencil with circles around them. It wasn't love, it was debt. Next to Mason T, $4,800. Next to Sophia T, $0, and a slash like someone had decided. What is this? There's a poker game in the basement of the closed bakery, Leela said dully. Mason runs it for the owner's ghost. He gives credit like a priest gives forgiveness. Sophia went there twice with him. She owed nothing. He owed everything. Why would he call me? I said. Because you're the person who answers, she said. Because I stopped. We took photos of the book. We kept it because people like Mason treat absence as permission. On the way out, Leela grabbed a pack of gum, peppermint. She offered me one, and we chewed like teenagers learning how to fake calm. What does he want to trade? I asked. The book, she said, for not hurting anyone we love, for not making it look like I pushed someone into a river, I said bluntly, to make the sentence usable. Eva, she said, and my name sounded like a request for a time machine. I didn't. I know. And that was the first true thing I had said all day without ingredients. Chapter 7. The Plan. Plans made in kitchens are braver than the ones made in living rooms. Kitchens remember hunger. We called Detective Rivas. She didn't answer. We didn't leave a message because we were about to be stupid on purpose. Granary at the river, I said. 7. We bring the book. We bring, what? A mirror? A recorder? A lot of nerves. We bring my mouth shut. That's the hardest part, Lila said. Jonah came home early, like he does on nights when being good requires rehearsal. I told him everything except the part where we were about to go meet a man who loved leverage. You're not going alone, he said. You have class, I said. The kids need your sentences. The kids have books. You have me. He has a way of saying me like it could be a place. We compromised. He would wait in the cafe on the corner with his phone on speaker and a photo of the ledger ready to send to 10 people if I didn't text done by 7:20. Compromises are just smaller lies we can prove. At 6:58, the river decided it lived under a sky again instead of in some personal hell. The water lost the color of bruises. Lila shivered, although the wind wasn't the reason. Mason stepped from the shadow of the granary like the building had produced him. He wore a coat with pockets that learned too many names. You brought the book, he said, smiling like he owned the question marks. You brought a confession, I said. He tilted his head. You're the other one, the sister who buys proper folders. And you are the man who thinks debt is a personality. He laughed, surprised and pleased like he found a new kind of coin. Where's Lila? Here, she said, and stepped out from behind the column with her hands in her jacket, the way people do when they want to look like they're not shaking. You never owed me money, Mason said to her. You owe me humility. What do you want? I asked.
The book? And for you to remember that Sophia gets loud when she drinks and louder when she's bored. She got into a cab. She will get out of one. I'm not the river. Then why the calls? Why the trade? He spread his hands, magnanimous, because I like a clean ledger. I held the book up, closed. Then answer one question. Why did you call me? Because Lila doesn't pick up anymore, but you do. You're the one who returns things. Keys, books, people. The phone in my pocket buzzed. Jonah. Where are you? A photo attached. Revis at the cafe with him, her finger on the ledger photo like it had spoken first. I looked over Mason's shoulder and saw a figure linger at the corner of the granary. Revis, watchful, giving me enough rope to decide which use. Here's your trade, I said, and tossed the book into the air. It arced like a decision. Mason reached. Revis moved. Lila stepped quick and flicked her gum under Mason's shoe. He slipped. The book slapped the pavement and split. Pages like birds. Revis took 2 long steps and made the world small around his wrists. Sometimes the river returns things, she said with calm satisfaction. We gave statements that tasted like peppermint and old fear. Mason said nothing. Men like him confuse silence with power until the ledger learns to read. Chapter 8. What We Owe. Sophia turned up at a clinic out by the highway. A nurse recognized her from a flyer and texted Rivas a photo. Alive, tired. Her phone had died at the river. She told a cab to drive until the city is a rumor. She slept on a vinyl chair listening to machines be better at breathing than people. Rivas told us the way you tell a table to sit back down because it has been carrying too much. You're both lucky, she said. Luck is boring. Be boring. On the walk home, the city felt like a room I had paid rent for twice. Thank you, Lila said. For what? For not making of me a lesson, she said. You used my name. I used your safety. You're the safest person I know. It should have felt like a compliment. It felt like a bank that had just become a target. At home, Jonah stood at the stove, stirring something that smelled like forgiveness if forgiveness had garlic. He kissed my hair, then Lila's forehead, then held the wooden spoon up like a peace flag. A detective told me to be boring, he said. I'm making soup. We ate with our knees touching under the table the way children build forts. Lila cried once, quietly, like a leak. I let her. We didn't talk about the ledger. We talked about the cat with the arrogance of tigers. We talked about the river like an old friend we'd outgrown.
Chapter 9. The Other Alibi. 2 weeks later, Revis returned with paperwork that made the kitchen look like a conference room. No charges, she said, against either of you. Against Mason, yes. Against the bakery's basement, more abstractly. Sophia's statement is strong. Good, I said, feeling taller. Bad, Leela said, feeling honest. Because now I have to live with the version where I didn't tell the truth first. You told your sister, Revis said, not unkindly. You told the person who thinks the word alibi can be a hug. After she left, I found the blue ink receipt in my bag where anger had misplaced it. I set it on the table and smoothed it like a shirt. Keep it, Leela said. As what? As proof, she said, that I almost lost you to a timeline. I put it in a folder with my mother's bracelet, a city map with the bridge circled, and the peppermint wrapper I pretended not to pocket when Leela stuck it in the alley. I labeled the folder Ode/Owned. It felt like a joke the room would find funny later. That night, Jonah and I sat on the porch with the light off so the moths would ignore us. I hate that you were in danger and didn't tell me, he said quietly. I wasn't. Then I stopped because the sentence knew better. I was in the idea of danger, which is sometimes worse. I want you to call me at 3:17 when it's not the cat. I want you to believe me when I say, I will, I said. We practiced saying, I will, like new parents say each other's names, carefully, as if they might drop. Chapter 10. Keeping it. The river went back to being a creature we admire from a distance. Sophia started bringing home plants like apologies and naming them after people who stayed. She texted Leela a photo of a monstera leaf with a hole in it and captioned it, I'm learning that damage is a design, not a flaw. We laughed and agreed and saved it, because sometimes therapy is just better captions. Leela returned my spare key with a ceremony that included bread, flowers, and a promise not to need it. I took it back and put it in the dish with the other pieces of metal that pretend to be reliable. The sound was a chord I could live inside. I asked her for something that felt mean to ask. Don't wear my bracelet anymore, I said, even if you need to be me. I needed to be someone the city believes, she said. Not defensive, only tired. Be you, I said. I'll answer when you call. She hugged me with the ferocity of people who keep their emotional furniture in hallways. At 3:17 a.m., a week later, my phone rang. I sat up so fast, the room fell behind. It's nothing, Leela whispered. I just wanted to try the hour again and see if it stops hurting. Is it? I asked. A little, she said. We stayed on the line and listened to our homes hum. Mine made the small night noises of machines pretending to dream. Hers made the sound faucets make when they think no one is listening. I put my hand on the cool glass of the window and felt the city's breath through it. Tell anyone who asks, Leela said, voice level now, that I was with you. I'll say it, and this time it will be true. I hung up and wrote the words, she was with me, on a slip of paper. I slid it into the folder with the receipt and the wrapper and the map. The folder grew heavier, and the weight felt earned. In the morning, the cat walked under the streetlight like a rumor. The river looked like a vein. I made coffee and didn't watch the camera. I called Jonah by his name, and he answered like it was his. We ate toast with the extravagance of people who have survived a narrative. If I ever have to lend my alibi again, I will do it with terms. Not because love needs contracts, but because love deserves witnesses who don't leave. I keep the bracelet in a dish by the door now. When I fasten it, I think of my mother's hands and of Leela's, and how a circle can be a promise or a trap, depending on who closes it. Most days, it's a promise. Most nights, too. And when it's not, I call at 3:17, and someone answers.